Literally, this is the first time I'm doing this, and this is from the confines of um, our new place in the city. And there's a very good chance that very few people will be here, but at the same time, I wanted to try the whole live feature. Um, this is the only room in the house that I can do this, and I will wait. I would guess about 5 minutes. I'd say there's like a chat feature on the side, and I can probably answer people once they join. And if you guys are online, then feel free to use that chat feature that I can reply to. Um, the guys and I moved here Sunday a week ago, and I didn't really have a chance to do anything but unpack and work and unpack and work. And the boys were more than helpful. Um, and next week I will have my usual one interview a week with pretty awesome people. But in the interim, as the unpacking happens, I'm kind of finding myself wanting to do something with the content of the channel. And obviously, between unpacking and a day job and everything else that's happening, this is kind of falling by the wayside. So this is nothing short of I'm still here and I'm going to create content because I really, really am passionate about sharing things that are a little more uh, than daily updates and vlogging, even though this would seem on the surface as one. So if you are on YouTube, feel free to use the little channel there, questions. Um, and otherwise, it's just me staring at the screen and checking that the live feature works. It seems like it does. And this is literally the first time that I'm using it on this platform. And I don't know how promotions work, but it's pretty cool that you can see chats and live. Since you're the only one, well, I don't know if you're the only one. I don't see. Oh, there's a two people count. Yay, there's another person here. You have any question for me that can start the conversation going? You know me when it comes to dialogue or specifically monologue. Oh, wow. Okay, so let me backtrack. You're asking where is your place? It's in the Castro. We are literally on Collingwood, which is amazing. It's in the heart of the Castro. But what preempted the move was between Fabricio's getting a more permanent president status in the States and us three getting, we were sheltering in place in Fab's place down in San Jose and spending very little time in the city during COVID. So the moment rents went down enough, which they have, and Fabrizio's status in the States became more stable, it was kind of the optimal result of kind of jumping on A, looking for places, and then B, jumping on the one that we wanted the most, which is this one. We moved literally in a day, which was insane. We spent about, yeah, it was exactly that, a perfect storm of circumstances. But in the flip side of the same coin, we did spend one day taking two places into one. And even though technically the square footage is more than the previous two apartments, what we didn't take into account is that railroad apartment in San Francisco kind of account for a lot of corridor. So this week has been a lot of paring down of stuff. And this is the first room that I can be proud of in terms of both presentation and no boxes around, which is nice, very nice even. So yeah, it's just a confluence of circumstances between rents coming down, status in the States, the three of us needing to be in one space because it just didn't make sense going between one place to another over and over and over again, especially if things opened up. You know, the city kind of slightly became more and more lively, and we had a brief moment of summer and outdoor living, which was amazing. Um, but that obviously is long gone now that it's freezing outside. Um, so yeah, that's the reason we moved to the Castro, and now we literally have enough space ish, but a better place. Are we guys anti-vaxxers? That's a really good question. Uh, Honestly, if it still comes within this administration, there is no way I'm sticking a needle into me in any way, shape, or form. It's just not viable. Uh, he seems destructive in so many ways, in so many levels. So as long as it's Trump leading the charge, I'm an anti-vaxxer. Uh, when it comes to just the plain knowledge of science, or the application of science, I should say, there is no way that I will refuse any kind of vaccination. On the contrary, flu shots and so on are backed by pretty big body of research, and I am not one to ignore datum. So, yeah, the moment we have enough data in tow, we will be very happy to take vaccination. I can make it a tangential statement and say that we thoroughly miss the dance floor, we thoroughly miss the gym, and those two are therapeutic to me in many ways. So when work has been as insane as it has been, in a good way, my refuge has been the dance floor. My refuge has been the gym, and not having them as a part of my daily mental stability or mental fortitude exercises, no pun intended, yet achieved, is frustrating. So the moment of vaccination is there, we'll definitely jump on it in some way, in some manner. Any other lead up amazing questions? Because that was definitely a good one. By the way, can you hear me okay? That's like a general question. I don't know how the voice works because it's slightly different setup. I haven't set up my microphone clearly yet. Uh, yes, for sure. To all of you viewers out in the future, looking back at this video, I am generally a loud person, generally a pretty vocal one, in both voice, volume, and opinions. Um, which is, I'm assuming, Lou, why you asked, what you asked about the anti-vaxxers. Um, Feel free to ask any other questions. I really am using this as an exercise of how does life look like in YouTube, how does life look like in Facebook, and so on. And it's entertaining. And thank you for being there, because that's kind of starts the ball rolling. I have never done this. So most of my videos, even though they're very monologish, were at least somewhat edited by me. And editing is an unnecessary over exaggeration of what I do with my videos. But there is an element of, you take the video and then you put it through some form of either editing, or in my case, chopping, just to take things out. But this is pretty much the opposite, because I can be more free flowing. And I'm assuming down the road, I haven't prepped anyone that I will do this. I didn't prepare anything on purpose. I was kind of going blind intentionally, in order to see where people are. And by the way, you're the first viewer, so thank you for that. And I think down the road, as audience builds up, this will be one of the more fun versions, if that makes sense. The more entertaining versions, at least for me. It's fun to react to certain feedback, be it textual, otherwise doesn't matter. It's fun. I will ask what. Oh God, yeah, the pod question. That's a very good one. Are you referring to family, sexuality, or otherwise? Because the pod as a whole, and I'm seeing it around our community specifically, for people in the gay community, the pod refers to usually for sex, not for family. And because of our fidelity, it's more about family. So Kevin's sister and her husband uh, were a part of our pod before we knew the definition of what the pod is. And I think in many ways they're attributed to us preserving a semblance of sanity through COVID. So literally from the get-go, I think literally 2 weeks into the quarantine, we were meeting in the backyard um, of Kev's sister, and at the time they had a puppy that my niece, Kevin's sister's daughter, was rearing, which was just amazing. So we ended up doing a lot of backyard porch conversations from distance with masks and all that. And then over time, we learned we could just test and make it a lot more intimate than just that. And then on top of that, we have a couple of friends that very, very intentionally, once we recognize that we can be closer to people, we can have dinners. We can be very, very clear about communication prior to the dinners, what we've done, what we haven't done. If there were elements of risk, we shared them, much like the idea of any kind of radical candor. You open the conversation, you discuss the qualifiers or parameters of risk. You reach a consensus by being clear, by being open. And I think personally we navigated it well enough that even though this is a really weird time and we don't need to see our loved ones as much as we would like to, and I can honestly say that my extended family, which is the tribe around Castro and San Francisco, I sorely, sorely miss. I miss hugs from our acquaintances. I really do. But because our pod is, I would say about 5 people, 6 people, outside of ourselves, of course, that was a very strong attribute in keeping our mental health intact and our sanity through this crazy time. What about you? I mean, do you guys have a pod? uh, I try not to do things without thinking things through. I really do. Uh, it actually kind of amuses me when people don't, considering there's so much work done by so many pretty smart, capable, able people that you can just apply their results and their distillation of be it the zeitgeist or whatever problem you're facing. And to not leverage that seems to me weird or inefficient. So it's not my thinking this out. It's my utilizing other people thinking this out and then applying it to my life. I'm not smart enough to make those conclusions on my own. I think I'm smart enough to use other people's conclusion or leverage other people's conclusion to make better decisions as best as I can. Again, there's always bias. There's always an element of being either too near to the problem or too attached to a specific solution. So divorcing from bias is always a part of wants and needs. Nice. So you know the dialogue, I'm assuming you navigate it with some form of an open dialogue, uh, saying you have friends of friends, and then there's always this idea, and I think a lot of people are wrestling with this, especially now prior to Thanksgiving. There's this element of thinking that because Thanksgiving is such it's an absolute, it's a concrete thing, and people are now wrestling with the fact that something is not just wrestled away from them, but in many ways stolen, which is the Thanksgiving meal, the dinner. It's cemented in United States culture that that is a family thing, and not a lot of people can do that family thing together, or doing it together implies or applies a level of risk tolerance or risk aversion. So I think the dialogue is becoming a little more complex now, and I think a lot of conversation, especially with people that weren't as forthcoming towards their pods or had an exercise of radical candor or just honesty in general, this ability to speak this through, are now facing the forced nature of talking through this and making decisions because you don't want to risk your family, you don't want to risk your loved ones, you don't want to have your parents or your uncles or your chosen family, in most cases when it comes to gay men, pose any risks to them. Or they'll, as you say, yeah, I guess so. But for me, Thanksgiving, initially when I moved to the States, which was almost 2 decades ago, I was not I did not understand the whole cliche element of having argument from people from the other side of the aisle through the virtue of being a part of an extended family member. I'm a partner of someone that had a Republican brother or anything within that kind of structure. Until I had one, full on explosion. And Americans, at least West Coast, my humble experience of West Coast Americans is they avoid conflict, like fire. Again, no pun intended. We have too many fires to count now. But then I've been through one of those, and I've been through one of those heated debates. Not surprised to anyone that knows me. And then the cliche of the uncle that just refuses to either speak to truth or to speak to discourse or mediate or reach a consensus. And it did blow up pretty spectacularly with both friends and family. So until that moment for me, which was about 5 years into being in the States, I didn't know that the cliche actually holds true. So you're planning to roast your family through Zoom? Congratulations. Good luck. I Side note on us when it comes to Thanksgiving, it almost seems as if there will be no Thanksgiving. There will be a lockdown, even though a lot of states are refusing to term what's coming around the bend as a lockdown. It seems like that would be the case. Like that would not be a choice. It would just be that. It is totally easier to have a conversation, by the way, when it comes to your questions on the side. Uh, and I think I will give it the full 30 minutes, at least I intended initially for this. Not a problem at all. Thank you so much for being here. Likewise. That will be as good as time as any to wrap this up. Thank you.